So tonight we're going to be factoring trinomials again, except this time you'll notice that we have an a term in front of our x squared, and it's going to change just a little bit on how we are able to factor. So let's see what happens when I have an a value that is not equal to 1. Well, now I need to find factors of a times c. So my a of 4 times my c value of 15 or 60. So I'm going to set up a little t-chart to find my factors of 60. So I've got 1 and 60. Oh, so by the way, I'm looking for values that are going to help me to add together to get 16, but that will multiply to get 60. These numbers will multiply to get 60, but I need these two factors to add to get me 16. So 1 and 60 isn't going to do it. 2 and 30, those would be 32. 3 and 20, 23 is not going to work. 4 and 15, I'm getting closer. 5 and 12. 6 and 10. Well, if I look here, 6 and 10 will add to give me my middle term, my b term, 16. So we're going to do this with the box method. So I'm going to set up my box, and up here in my upper left corner, so I'm going to make my box. I apologize, it's not going to be very neat. In my left-hand corner, I'm going to put my ax squared term, my 4x squared. In the bottom corner, I'm going to put my c term, 15. And these two factors are going to be my b term, the composite of my b term. So in fact, this is my 6x and then my 10x. And it won't actually matter which box I put them into. You can choose either one. I'm going to put my 6x up here, and I'm going to put my 10x down here. And what I'm going to be doing is finding my greatest common factor, which is going to give me my two binomials. So if I look down this direction, I see that I've got a common factor of 2 for my 4 and my 10, and an x for my x squared and x. So I've got a 2x that's my greatest common factor from 4x squared and 10x. If I look down this way, what's my greatest common factor of 6x and 15? Well, that's going to be 3. Going in this direction, I need to find my greatest common factor of 4x squared and 6x. Well, I've got a 2 in both of these and an x in both of these, so my greatest common factor will be 2x. And in this direction, my greatest common factor is 5. So my two binomials that will multiply to give me this trinomial are 2x plus 5 and 2x plus 3. And I could go back and multiply these out, and you'll see that I would get my same 4x squared plus 16x plus 15. I'm going to quickly use the FOIL method. 4x squared is my first term. My outside term is 6x. Whoops. My inside term is 10x. And my last term is 15. So when I combine these like terms, I do have 4x squared plus 16x plus 15, which is exactly where I started. So I know that these two binomials represent my factors of this trinomial. So I'm going to do this exact same problem, only this time I'm going to do it by grouping. So remember, I know that I need to find the product of A and C, so I'm looking for factors of 60. And I've got my same factors of 60, so I'm going to jump to my factor that's going to work. That's going to be 6 and 10. So this time I'm going to be setting this up where I'm splitting this 16x into a 6x and a 10x. And I'm going to match the ones that match my A and my C factors. So my 4 and my 6 have a 2 in common, and my 10 and my 5 have a 5 in common. So I'm going to write this out like this. 4x squared plus, I'm going to use this one first because it has a common factor with 4, plus 6x plus 10x plus 15. So all I've done is split this middle term into 2 by finding that factor that would multiply to give me 60 and add to give me 16. And then I just factor by grouping like I've normally done. So I'm going to put these two together and these two together. I'm going to take out a 2x from this binomial, leaving me with, 2x plus 3. And I'm going to take a 5 out of here, which leaves me with 2x plus 3. Factoring out my greatest common factor, 2x plus 3 times 2x plus 5. And I have the exact same binomials that I had in my last slide. So you can choose to solve by using the box and T method or by grouping, and I'll do it both ways a couple more times for you. So let's try another one together. I need to find products of my A and my C term, or factors, I'm sorry. So I'm looking for factors of 70 that will multiply together to give me 33. Now, if you notice, I've got a negative 33. So I know that the bigger of my two terms is likely to be my negative number, and then I'm going to have a positive number that's the smaller of the two terms. So what factors do I have of 70? Well, I've got 1 and 70. That's not getting me to 33. I've got 2 and 35. Well, actually, look at that. If I have a negative 35 and a positive 2, then I will get negative 33. So I'm going to do this first by the box method. I know that I need to put in my upper left corner that A term, that's 7x squared. In my bottom right corner is going to be my C term, negative 10. And then I've got a 2x that needs to go somewhere, and a negative 35x that needs to go somewhere. Remember, I don't care which box these two go into. So I'm going to find my greatest common factor going in this direction. Well, I see that I've got a 7 that's common to both and an x. So 7x. Going in this direction, I have a 2 that's common to both of them. In this direction, the only thing that's common is my x term. And in this direction, I've got a negative 5 that is common to both of them. So my binomials that multiply to give me this trinomial will be 7x plus 2 times x minus 5. And again, I can FOIL to make sure that I have the right terms. If my outside minus 35x, my inside plus 2x, and last minus 10. Of course, I can also do this with the box method, but that got me back to my 7x squared minus 33x minus 10. So that is where I wanted to be. So I'm going to show you this time using my grouping method. I know that I still have a positive 2x and a negative 35x that I'm going to be using for the grouping method. 7x squared. I've got a, I'm going to put my 35 with my 7 because those both have a common factor. So I've got minus 35x and my plus 2x, and then my minus 10. And again, I'm going to solve this by grouping. So I've got these two together and these two together. So I've got a 7x that's going to come out of here. And that's going to leave me with an x minus 5. And here I've got a 2 that's common to both of them, which will leave me with an x minus 5. So taking out my greatest common factor, I've got x minus 5 and 7x plus 2. And those are exactly what I had here. The order, remember, is not important. So I'm going to let you decide which you're more comfortable with using the box method, sometimes called a box and T since I had this T to find my factors, or using grouping, which will use my same factors. Okay, so here I've got a special case where I've got, and I apologize for this, I'm just going to rewrite this really quickly. That should be negative 3x squared minus 17x minus 10. I'm going to need to factor out my negative. I can't have a lead term that's negative. So I'm going to need to take that negative out. By doing that, I'm going to have a negative on my outside of my parentheses. That leaves me with a 3x squared. If I take a negative out of here, that leaves me with a positive 17x. Taking a negative out of here, I ended up with a positive 10. Now that I've factored out that negative, I can use either my box method or my factoring by grouping method to find the factors of this trinomial. So remember, I'm looking for factors of 30, and I need to have them add to 17. 1 and 30 won't do it, but it looks like 2 and 15 will. So I've got my 2x and 15x, and I'm going to set this up in a box. And if you want to pause your video now and see if you can make this work, that would be great, or follow me through this process. I'm going to put my 2x up here and my 15x down here. Remember, it doesn't matter where you place it. My greatest common factor here is 3x. Going this way, I've got a 2. In this direction, I have an x. And in this direction, I have a 5. So I've got 3x plus 2 and x plus 5. And remember, I factored out that negative, so I need to put that negative in there to show you that I would need to distribute that back out if I were to find the product of these two binomials. Using the factoring method, same thing. I've got that negative I'm going to tack on at the very end. Take out my... And remember, I'm going to have to tack on my negative sign that I factored out at the beginning. I'm going to let you try this one on your own. Please pause the video here and try this one out, and then I will reveal the answer. And notice by the box method, as well as by grouping, I came up with 2x plus 3 times x plus 7. Oops, doesn't leave me a lot of room. So make sure you've got all this down. I'm going to clean my page and practice this next one with you. Okay, again, pause your video and practice this one and see what you get. Check back in a minute. Okay, so on this one, again, we are looking for factors of the product of 3 and 16, or 48. So I found 4 and 12. Notice I've got a negative sign here. So these two factors have to add together to give me a negative 16, but multiply together to give me a positive 16. So that means that both of these factors are going to be negative, so that I end up with a positive c. Two things multiplying together that are both negative will give me that positive number. So they'll both be negative. So I put in my box my negative 4x and my negative 12x. Well, if I have a negative up here, then I've got to take a negative out of both of these. So that's going to be a negative 4. If my x term is negative, then it's going to make the greatest common factor also negative. So I've got my negative 4. So I've got 3x minus 4 and x minus 4. Likewise, using the grouping method, I had negative 12x and negative 4x. And it's a little bit cleaner here to see where I got my 3x minus 4 and my x minus 4. Okay, sorry, I had technical problems again. Negative 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. And remember, I'm going to have to factor out the negative first. So go ahead and try this one, pause your video, and come and check back for the answer. Okay, and remember, since I factored out that negative, I need to add the negative on at the beginning of both of these, and using both the box method or factoring by grouping, I still came up with 2x plus 3 times x plus 1, and that whole thing negative. All right, do these 3 on your own. Bring these to class tomorrow. Have a good evening.